What's up guys, this is Magnolia Mo and you are watching my channel. Today's video we are going to go over the Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit from Technodad and Joe and Tell. If you're like me, going back all the way back to the DVD days, you will have probably a copy of the Avia Guide to Home Theater, or fast forward to Blu-ray times, you may have a copy of the DVD HD Basics DVD Video Essentials. Both of these discs were popular, during their time. Now we have the very first Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit. It is meant for spatial audio, right? So in particular, specifically for Dolby Atmos. And this is the only disc of its kind, and it is available to purchase online. A couple months ago, Joe reached out after watching one of my videos on YouTube. The video was about Dolby Atmos upfiring speakers. He liked the video. Joe asked me if I had gotten a chance to check out his and Technodad Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit, and I had said I was always thinking of buying it, and guess what? He was nice enough to send me a copy, so I have decided to do a video on this. Now, Joe basically told me to do my thing, right? So he said, Mo, do your thing, right? So he has no input in this video. These are all my thoughts and my impressions on how useful this particular calibration toolkit is, whether you're a beginner or if you are an expert, how you can take full advantage of this particular calibration toolkit. The disc itself is laid out very nicely, with the various sections, call-outs, level matching, polarity tests, timing tests, crossover points, speaker pairs, tonal balance, object panning, torture tests, impulse response, sweep tests. So it's basically meant for beginners as well as advanced users. And if you join the Discord group, you can actually download the guide, right? How to use the spatial audio calibration toolkit. It is recommended for you to run your room EQ. If I have Odyssey, I ran the Odyssey. You should keep your room EQ on while going through this disc, but do turn off dynamic EQ or dynamic volume, anything that enhances, or loudness, right? Anything that enhances the sound on top of the room EQ. And then when it comes to your crossover tests, it is recommended to change all your speakers to large, because you need to run them as large to find out what the roll-off is for each of your speakers. And then lastly, this is not a tutorial, right? I'm gonna go through the various sections of this disc, and I'm gonna walk you guys through about the sections that I benefited from. The bottom line is this is a must-have. This is just another tool that you can use to fine-tune your system. All right, so without further ado, let's get on with it. Okay, let's get started. This is the splash screen. This is where the disc opens up. Starting with the first section, intro, that's exactly what this is. It's an intro, and you'll hear Technodad.
I should sound like I am in your room, and you should be able to hear my voice clearly. If at any point the sound starts to become uncomfortable to listen to, turn down the volume. Again, make sure you are not hearing any distortion from your speakers. We do not take any responsibility for damaging your speakers or your hearing.
So that's important. The disclaimer is important to make sure you don't end up blowing your speakers or your receiver or your amplifier. So adjust the volume. I kept the volume at -30 for most of these tests, unless it was actually needed, right? So for instance, during the level matching for speakers, I had to turn up the volume, but you have to remember to turn the volume back down. Otherwise, it is quite loud. Like in this case, I'm just gonna hit unmute, and you can hear how loud it is. You don't need to be any higher than that in this particular section of the disc. Okay. So the next is speaker callouts. I found this also very helpful. It helps you to make sure that all the speakers are positioned correctly.
Front left. Center. Front right. Surround right. Surround back right. Surround back left. Surround left. Front height left. Front height right. Middle height right. Rear height right. Rear height left.
Next is level matching. Essentially, you're going to go ahead and match and make sure all the levels are appropriately set for your particular system. This can be a little tricky because you have to toggle between the disc and the speaker section. Each test, this is what I like about this disc, is stays on your screen and your system for a long time. That gives you time to go through and adjust and make sure everything is right. So for this particular test, I'm going to use my Omni mic to get the readings, from an SPL standpoint. You can also use a standard SPL meter and do it that way as well. All right, so let's do the level match. And I'm going to select my system here, which is 7.1.6, and you have to increase the volume in this one.
Front left.
That was about 75.34.
Center.
So this is about 76.7, so this is what I'm going to do. And see what I mean? Like, you get enough time to actually adjust your trim levels and then go back out. So that worked, right? So you get the idea. You have enough time to go back into your receiver and your levels within your processor and adjust them and then go back out, right? And if it's not enough time, then you can always restart that particular section. But level matching to me is a very good section to have on a calibration disc, right? So at least now your levels are matched. So once your levels are matched, then you go into your polarity tests. Your polarity tests are to make sure that your speakers are wired correctly, right? That you've not switched the positives and the negatives. And really what you're listening for over here is a more focused sound from a test signal perspective versus a dispersed and sound that is all over the place, and the level's also going to drop off in that particular sequence. So let's do one right here.
Front left. Center. Front left. Front right.
So in this particular test, when it's front left and your center, or front left and your right, when the test tone plays, it's just more centered, sound, versus out of phase is just gonna disperse the sound. So it's a good test to run through. Timing tests. This is also a very good section to have. This essentially, tells you if you have your distances correct. I'm gonna do the left, front left and front right.
1, 2.
See how this is? It's actually centered.
3.
The sound is centered between the two, and both of the beeps
4.
are lined up. If I was to mess around with this
5.
with the actual distance,
6.
go back. I'll just do it. So go back.
7.
So it's
8.
11, 12, right? So
9.
go all the way up.
10. 12. 13.
So in this particular case, it's
14.
loaded on the left side, right? It is not centered. This one's
17.
coming mostly from the left. All right, so that's the timing tests. Then this is my favorite, right? Crossover points. Now, crossover points, I've always struggled when it came to the crossovers for my height speaker, because you can go with the manufacturer's recommendation, or you can let your processor decide what the crossover point is. There was no way for me to really nail it down until I got REW. But if you don't have REW, this is actually a really good test to have to really fine-tune the crossover points, right? For this, what you have to do is go into your speaker setup and turn everything to large. You want to know what your crossovers are going to be, right? I'm going to make these all large. Come on. Okay. Get out of there. So the crossovers are gone. And now I am going to use the SPL meter on my REW. You can use a simple SPL meter. I'm going to use the one that's built in with REW to kind of demonstrate this, okay? So let's do the front height left, which is a B&W M1. It's between 100 and 125. So I had my crossover set at 110, which was appropriate, right? So without this, I would not have known. So that is really good. What you want to look for is a drop off of greater than 10 dBs, right? In my particular case, in this left, in my B&W M1, the drop off is significant after, I want to say 110 hertz is where it stays and then it starts to drop off. The next one is speaker pairs. In this test, the same pink noise will play on two adjacent speakers. This is useful in determining the phantom image created by those two speakers, as well as checking for timbre matching between speaker pairs. I find this to be a very good test to determine a phantom image. Again, it's going to be tough to get all same speakers everywhere, but this is a good test to kind of at least know if there are big, larger issues from a timbre matching perspective. Tonal balance. It's a good idea to adjust your tonal balance using pink noise first before using familiar tracks to test that what you've done is right for you. One thing you can try is to test out the 2-channel stereo version, then try various layouts, and so on and so forth. If you're using voice matched speakers, or if your EQ is done properly, you should get a consistent tonal balance as you try different layouts. And you can try various upmixers to see how they change the overall tonality. Ideally, you want the tonality to remain consistent in all formats. Object panning, I found this particular section to be very useful in terms of assessing, how the objects pan in my room, right? You could actually use it to determine how effective your height speakers are and how well they work with your bed layer speakers. The 50% pans are also a good way to test the effectiveness, of your immersive audio upmixers such as DTS, Neural X, or a 3D. You can also test Dolby Surround upmixer, DSU, by changing your settings on your playback device to force 5.1 playback using the same tracks, right? So this is also very helpful and very effective. I'm gonna tell you there's no disc like this right now in the market. I love this, the object panning. I mean, you get your ear level square move with snaps. You also have the 50% height square moves. And then you have the torture test. Pink noise, voice diagonals. I like the voice diagonals.
Here I am, moving around your room. Here I am, just moving around your room. Can you hear me? Moving through your room, moving through the room, moving through the room. I'm moving around your room. Here I am.
For the last two tests on this disc, the impulse response and the sweep test, you do need REW and a UMic 1 or an Omni mic that is calibrated for the REW software, right? So those are, in my opinion, are utilities, essentially, because you can use them to validate if there are dips in the overall frequency range, right? Where your crossovers are set correctly, and if not, then you do need the REW system to actually fix some of those issues, right? Do you need to improve on your crossovers, or do you need to further align your subwoofers with the rest of your speakers? I did do a video on that before, but those two two tests, actually the third one to the periodic pink noise. All three of them are utilities that you can use. If you don't have this disc, or if you're looking to purchase this, I highly recommend going to spatialcd.com and ordering one for yourself. You can get a disc, or you can actually get files, right? Downloadable files that you can actually put on your PC, and then you can use it that way as well. I hope you guys like this video. As usual, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.